I had recently only started watching some Korean movies and especially the series, most popularly referred to as K-dramas, when I noticed something different regarding the religious lives of the Korean people I saw on screen. The way they honored their late family members in a certain yearly ritual was something I knew only Hindu households like mine did. Surely, South Korea isn't particularly Hindu, I thought. There must be some other religion I don't know of yet. So, I went to good old Google, searched religions of Korea, and then Wikipedia decided to tell me most South Koreans have no religion. Certainly, I thought Wikipedia was lying to me, so I looked over other more reliable sources, and apparently it is true that over half of the South Korean population don't associate themselves with any religion. Now this was strange to me, okay, because the worship of dead relatives would pop up around the K-dramas quite often, certainly way more than 50% of the time with all of the car crashes and certain health crises happening. And the way they conducted the ritual also definitely felt unique, something Korean about them. Christian themes would pop up every now and then too, but there were always some other colors. Temples which seemed rather Buddhist but also had a different quality to them, or rituals popping around that felt distinctly Korean. This then begs the question, what are the basis of these particular Korean death and wedding rites and rituals among others? What are the major religions of the other half of the South Korean population? Also, what about North Korean religions? How different is it from its southern brother? I did a little digging around and I have some answers. And I'll be putting these answers in this video, which is segregated into certain sections. First and foremost, which is absolutely necessary, believe me, we'll be dissecting the concept of religions itself, which is actually not very straightforward in the Korean case. Then, some of the major religions of South Korea, which are Shamanism, Confucianism, Daoism, Buddhism, Christianity, Chondogyo, Daesoon, Jinrihoe, and finally we'll also see how the contemporary North Korean religious landscape is different from South Korea. Okay, let's begin from the first topic, which is understanding what Korean religions even mean. So when understanding that term, it's crucial to first dissect what we mean from religions, as the term has a closer connection to Judeo-Christian traditions. This is because the religious phenomena that is seen in Korea in terms of shamanism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Daoism, Christianity, Chondogyo, and other new religions in Korea may not neatly fit into the definition of religion that we're used to when conversing in the English language, especially from the Western point of view. Chongyo, which is the closest translation of religion in Korea, literally means the fundamental teachings in human life. In this vein, a good definition I found on Korean religion in the surprise, surprise, Journal of Korean Religions is the symbolic system of the fundamental teachings that Koreans believe and according to which they act and lead their lives. The emphasis is to be put on the act and leading part, as much of Korean religious particularities are rooted in rituals and certain ways of actions that are instinctive to the average Korean person, despite their self-perceptions of being religious or not. Now, these ritual-based communities mainly include Shamanism, Confucianism, Buddhism, and Daoism, which were more historically prevalent, and it's only until recently when the faith-based community of Protestant and Catholic Christianity has been in the mix. All of these major religions of Korea are actually imports from other regions except a few smaller and newer religions such as Chondogyo or Jeongsanyo. However, there is a certain string of Koreanness in how these religious communities have evolved over the years. Now that we've established to understand the term South Korean religions in a bit different manner, let's see the statistics that is available for South Korea. According to recent findings from Gallup Korea, the religious landscape in the Southern Korea has undergone notable changes. In 2004, 54% of adults identified with a religious affiliation, a figure that decreased to 50% in 2014 and further down to 40% in 2021. Notably, individuals in their 20s and 30s are contributing to the accelerated decline, signaling a discernible shift in generational attitudes towards traditional religious practices. And as for the religious distribution in South Korea, we find a diverse mix, with 17% identifying as Protestant, 16% as Buddhist, and 6% as Catholic. Among non-religious individuals, however, preferences lean towards Buddhism at 20%, followed by Catholics at 13% and Protestants at 6%. However, the most significant trend emerges among the non-religious, where the no-religion preference has risen sharply from 33% in 2004 to 61% in 2021, indicating a growing dissociation from conventional religious affiliations. Even among those who maintain religious identification, there is an overall decline in religious activities compared to 2014. This shift in engagement suggests a nuanced re-evaluation of the role of religion in individuals' lives in South Korea. Now, with that general statistics, let's deep dive into the particular religions, the major religions of South Korea. The first one being Shamanism. Korean Shamanism, or Mugyo, is actually said to be imported from Siberia. So yeah, it is not completely native. But it has been a primitive religion that predates Christianity, Buddhism, and even Confucianism in the Korean peninsula and has since developed differences to its North Asian counterpart. There isn't much of a systematic structure surrounding Korean shamanism as a religion, except in folklore and customs. It is actually based on the belief that every object in the world possesses a soul. Thus, there are a multitude of gods who watch over creation and human affairs, and the shamans, or the Mudang, are the ones who act as a bridge linking the living with the spiritual realms where the dead are supposed to linger. These shamans are mostly women, with only 5 to 10% of them being men. In fact, during the Joseon dynasty, which was dominated by Confucian ideology, shamanism was considered unsuitable for men. The shaman is considered capable of averting bad luck, curing sickness, and making peace between the physical and the spiritual world of an individual's life through rituals incorporating objects such as bells and mirrors and theatrical elements such as music and dance. According to the Korea Worshippers Association, over 60,000 shamanic rituals take place a year, and 1 in every 160 Koreans is a shaman, which is around 0.62% of the total population. Although the percentage of Korean people who identify as having shamanism as their religion is very small, Korean people who either don't identify with any religion or do identify in any of the bigger religions in the country still participate in shamanistic consultations and rituals to ease their personal problems relating to health, marriage, business, etc. Now, as for Korean Confucianism, it is an adaptation of the Chinese ethical and philosophical system based on the teachings of Confucius and has been having a tremendous impact on Korean identity. In fact, so much so that although only 1% of the Korean people identify as having Confucianism as a religion, around 90% of the population practice some sorts of Confucian rituals. That includes many Christians who use modified Confucian rituals that exclude the spirit tablet their pastors have told them are forbidden. And in addition, the Confucianism principles have been foundational for the general Korean heart and mind. The strong influence dawned on Korea since the early Three Kingdoms period. Its presence grew stronger during the Goryeo dynasty, and then even more so in the Joseon dynasty, which was when Confucianism was declared as the state ideology. This period saw an unprecedented flourishing of Confucian thought, making it a defining feature of Korean society even today. While Korean Confucianism retains the core tenets of its Chinese counterpart, principles like filial piety or yo, ritual propriety ye, righteousness wi, and benevolence in, it has developed unique characteristics. One distinct feature is the emphasis on Neo-Confucianism, a school of thought that synthesized Daoist and Buddhist concepts with Confucian ideas championed by figures like Yi Wang and Yi. The concept of filial piety, or respect for one's parents and ancestors, is central. This principle deeply influenced Korean family life, indicating a strong emphasis on ancestor worship and family lineage. Confucian rituals such as Jesa, ancestral rites, became integral to Korean culture, reflecting a deep-rooted respect for ancestors and the past, and which is what I apparently was seeing on the K-dramas after all of those car crashes. Confucianism in Korea established a rigid social hierarchy with the scholar official class, Yangban, at the top. This system, while promoting social order and stability, also created a less flexible society. Nonetheless, the ethical teachings of Confucianism, such as integrity, righteousness, and moral uprightness, became deeply ingrained in the Korean psyche, influencing everything from governance to everyday interpersonal relationships. Education was paramount in Confucian Korea. The establishment of state-sponsored schools and a civil service examination system called Gwagyo were based on Confucian texts. This not only spread Confucian doctrines but also enabled social mobility, at least theoretically, based on merit rather than birth. In contemporary Korea, the influence of Confucianism persists, though it has adapted to modern values. The respect for education, the importance of family, and certain aspects of social hierarchy continue to reflect Confucian ideals. However, there's also a tension between traditional, group-oriented, patriarchal, and other Confucian values with the modern, more egalitarian and democratic ideas. As for the more religious aspect of Korean Confucianism, besides just its popular identity as an ideology, Korean Confucianism today better preserves the classical Confucian traditions like the rituals in honor of Confucius called Seokjeongje, which were once imported from China. In addition, South Korea, with 234 Confucian shrines, has the largest network of such shrines per capita of any nation. Now let's talk Daoism. Daoism is not a widely practiced religion in South Korea. Historically, Daoism had some influence in Korea, particularly during the Three Kingdoms period when the Korean peninsula had contact with Chinese culture. Some Daoist ideas and practices may have been incorporated into Korean spirituality and traditional folk beliefs, but these were often intertwined with Buddhism and Shamanism. Although not outright influential as the other religions, it does take the centerpiece of the South Korean flag. The South Korean flag, or the taegukgi, features a white background with a blue and red taeguk circle at the center. The taeguk is a traditional Korean symbol derived from the yin-yang concept of Daoism that represents the balance of opposing forces or dualism that is also found in Korean shamanism. The four trigrams, on the other hand, known as kwe, in the corners of the flag are derived from the Book of Changes, or I Ching, an ancient Chinese divination text. The trigrams represented on the Korean flag are only 4 of the 8 trigrams found in the I Ching, or the Book of Changes, one of the oldest Confucian classics on Chinese cosmology. Today, there are still Daoist temples and practitioners in South Korea, but their numbers are relatively small compared to followers of other religions. These Daoist temples often serve as places for meditation, rituals, and preserving cultural traditions rather than being centers of mass religious activity. The fourth religion on our list is Buddhism. The 3 Korean kingdoms of Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla absorbed Buddhism that they learned from the northern Chinese states in 372 BCE. A golden age of art, architecture, paintings, and sculptures began, which added another dimension to Korean religiosity and spirituality. However, the intention with which the religion was first spread wasn't entirely religious, as it was found to be more political. It is said that it might have been introduced to counter the strong local belief in tribal gods and ancestral worship that came with Shamanism and Confucianism to a more concentrated force of belief that Buddhism would allow the aristocratic power to rise. However, Buddhism wasn't able to completely eradicate local religions, and nor was it rejected by them. It instead blended through the presence of Buddhist rituals, paintings, statues, etc. in a shaman's house, while there are shrines for gods and spirits of shamanistic roots in Buddhist temples as well. In fact, in South Korea, nearly every temple has an adjacent chapel shrine dedicated to the mountain spirit. Today, such temples have reached around 20,000 in total, while 16% of the population identify as Buddhists, making it a really close second to Protestant Christianity. A national holiday is also given on Buddha's birthday called Soka Tanshinil. It is a big event in the country which is celebrated on the 8th day of the 4th month in the Korean lunar calendar, which falls in either April or May. Buddhists attend religious ceremonies and events that take place at the temples that are decorated with paper lanterns. In the evening, there's usually a parade with candlelit lanterns symbolizing hope. Now, the next on our list is Christianity. Christianity was first introduced in the late 18th century, initially through Roman Catholicism brought by Korean scholars while studying in China. This faith-based religion, unlike others that entered the peninsula, refused to incorporate traditional rites of ancestor worship based on the Confucian principles. This led to early Korean Catholics facing severe persecution, with thousands martyred in the 19th century. This monotheistic devotion that was new to the ritual-based religiosity of Korea was later enforced by the introduction of Protestantism by American missionaries in the late 19th century. The Korean Protestant Church is known for its fervent spirituality, missionary zeal, and the megachurch phenomenon, with some of the world's largest congregations located in South Korea. In fact, 10 of the world's largest Christian congregations are in Seoul. This includes the world's largest congregation at the Yodo Full Gospel Church, which has more than 800,000 members. Korean Christianity also has a massive missionary movement in that only the United States sends more missionaries abroad than South Korea. Today, 23% of South Koreans are Christian, 17% of whom are Protestant, while Catholics represent just 6%, making it the only country on earth in which Protestants and Buddhists are that close in terms of the percentage of the population they claim. Christianity in modern Korea reflects a blending of Confucian and shamanistic traditions with Christian precepts. The Christian belief in faith healing especially goes well with the high value placed on health by South Koreans. However, when it comes to the preference of religions by those who are not religious, Catholicism was found to be more preferred compared to Protestantism. And as for the national holiday related to Christianity, we have Christmas Day, although it is not as major of an event as Buddha's birthday in South Korea. On the day of Christmas Day, Christians attend church, decorate their homes, exchange gifts, share a Christmas meal with a sponge cake. Another religion based on Christian, shamanistic, Buddhist, and Confucian traditions is the religion of the Heavenly Way, Chondogyo, with 200,000 to 600,000 members. Founded in 1860, Chondogyo is a native religion whose central doctrine emphasizes equality of all people. It was founded by Juche, who is also known by his pen name Suan, in 1860. Chondogyo emerged as a response to the social, political, and cultural turmoil Korea faced during this period, particularly under the pressures of foreign threats and the decline of the Joseon dynasty. Chondogyo synthesizes elements from a variety of religious traditions, including Shamanism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Christianity. This syncretism is central to its appeal and doctrinal foundation. The central doctrine of this religion is Inechon, or human beings are heaven, which signifies that heaven is not a separate entity but rather exists within human beings. This forwarded the notion that each human dignity and worth are important. This aided especially the common people who wanted a more equitable social order that was being prevented by the rigid class structure of the Joseon society. Chondogyo was not only a religious movement but also a driving force in the Korean independence movement against Japanese colonial rule. It played a crucial role in the March 1st movement of 1919, a pivotal moment in Korea's struggle for independence. This involvement in nationalistic activities significantly raised its profile and influence in Korean society. As for the rituals and practices, elements from various religion traditions are used, reflecting its syncretic nature. Practices include communal worship, meditation, and ceremonies that focus on gratitude, reverence for nature, and the affirmation of human dignity. In contemporary Korea, while Chondogyo does not have a large following compared to major religions like Christianity and Buddhism, it continues to be recognized for its historical role in shaping Korean identity and its contributions to social and national movements. So the last one on our list today, although there are other native new religions in South Korea as well, is Daesoon Jinrihoe. Daesoon Jinrihoe is one of Korea's most significant new religious movements. It was founded in the early 20th century, emerging from the teachings of Kang Jong-san, who is revered as the incarnation of Sangche, the supreme god in Daesoon thought. The movement was systematized and formally established by Jo Jong-san, Kang's spiritual successor, and further developed by Park Mudang. This religion is often associated with the broader Donggak movement, which also gave rise to Chondogyo. Daesoon Jinrihoe's religious practices include ritual ceremonies, meditation, and the recitation of Teolju mantra. This mantra, considered the most sacred in Daesoon Jinrihoe, is believed to have cosmic significance. Its recitation is thought to aid in personal enlightenment and the collective salvation of humanity. These practices are designed to align followers with the principles of reconciliation, gratitude, and spiritual advancement. The religion also places a strong emphasis on communal worship and the importance of living a life that contributes positively to society. It operates educational institutions, cultural centers, and welfare facilities, playing an active role in community development. Daesoon Jinrihoe has a unique aspect compared to other South Korean religions in that it prophesizes a future utopian age where peace and harmony will prevail. This belief in a forthcoming era of universal renewal is central to the faith. In modern Korea, Daesoon Jinrihoe faces challenges similar to other religious movements, such as addressing relevance in an increasingly secular society and appealing to younger generations. Now let's talk North Korean religions. Despite being one with the southern part of the peninsula for around 1,000 years, the division after 1948 has contributed greatly to a stark difference in religions in North Korea. The government reports there are some number of Buddhist, Protestant, Catholic, and Chondogyo followers, but in total there aren't more than 50,000 members. According to the United States Department of State in 2015, the population was 70.9% atheist, 11% Buddhist, and 1.5% shamanistic. Also, the Constitution of North Korea declares freedom of religious belief with the stipulation that religion must not be used as a pretext for drawing in foreign forces or for harming the state or social order. With this idea of close monitoring of religious activities and the fact that North Korea officially is an atheist state, it could seem like there isn't much of a religious presence in the country. However, the state ideology Juche, which the country demands strong adherence to from all its citizens, does have some quasi-religion features. It demands a strong level of commitment and devotion to the ideology as a religion would, with the object of worship surrounding the Kims. There are sacred rituals where the Kims are respected, sacred objects which are Kims' images, and sacred sites where Kims are said to have been born. So in conclusion, all in all, speaking of the religious landscape in South Korea, it has seen various religions enter and born in its ground, which all have interacted with one another to contribute to a distinctive South Korean religiosity. It isn't unusual for a lot of South Koreans to visit Buddhist temples, take advice from their local shamans on if they should start a business or enter a new chapter in life, conduct Confucian ancestral rites, enjoy a Christmas sponge cake with their friends on the Christmas day, all the while claiming to not have any religious affiliations. Likewise, the South Koreans who do have a religious association also may not bother to be exclusively devoted to just one religious practice, especially if their religion is more ritual-based rather than faith-based. The South Korean religiosity today thus has mostly become one of flexibility and tolerance, and a rigid or more conservative belief on religions is usually not taken well, especially by the newer, more progressive-leaning young population. As for North Korean religions, it's hard to tell exactly the religious culture of the country, although we do know that religious activities are scrutinized. The evolution of the state ideology of Juche into something that resembles the start of a new religion is also definitely noteworthy. That was all for the basic introduction to the religions of Korea. If you'd like me to deep dive into any of the single topics, let me know in the comments below. And lastly, all the papers and sites that I've used in the making of this video will be referenced in the description, so check it out if it interests you. Also, if there's anything that I missed out on or might have mistaken, please let me know in the comments again. I'd love to learn from you. I'll try to update a pinned comment with the corrections after I fact check it again myself. Thank you so much for sticking around. See you soon.